Hey guys, what it do? It's your boy Supreme with Jahad the God. Now I have an interesting video for us today. I want to talk about how do we put your head straight? Like my head never feels straight. Okay, this is straight. I think the desk isn't straight. Yeah, the desk isn't straight. Anyway, yeah. Make sure to subscribe. We're trying to go get it to 600. You know what I'm saying? So subscribe. It only takes 2 seconds. It doesn't take any energy. It doesn't take any, sorry. So if you can, please, that would be amazing. That would be so amazing. Anyway, I want to talk about Tower of God, and I want to talk about what if I wrote Tower of God? You know what I'm saying? What changes would I make? How would I go about telling this very interesting narrative? And well, so that's what we're gonna do. We're going to talk about that exactly. So what I think I would change is the main character. And actually I'd keep Baam as the protagonist of the tower, as the main protagonist of the like the quote-unquote access, the person that's gonna change the tower, that's gonna do all that. I would keep that to Baam, right? I'd keep Rachel as a main antagonist for Baam and the tower in general. But there'll be a few key changes in whose eyes we see the narratives from. I would never really go through the story through Baam's eyes, right? I would go through it through Rachel's eyes, through Conaguero's eyes, through Wangnan's eyes, and never through Baam's eyes, right? We're gonna see what Baam does and his actions and why these people like him and follow him and stuff like that. But I'd keep the Rachel thing and them living together a little bit of a mystery, right? So that obviously changed the start of the story. So I would start the story with Rachel. The way later on we find out how Rachel sees Baam chasing him and stuff like that. So I'd do everything we did at the start, but I'd do it too. So I'd show why Baam went into the tower, but I'll show it through this perspective of Rachel. So we'd have Rachel getting into the tower and all that stuff, struggling, and then seeing Baam just going through it, and then her getting that deal that gets her through. And then from then on, we'll switch to Conaguero and the moment in the first floor when Con sees this new kid, and we'll see the intrigue for the new kid, right? So we'll get with no Baam, you know what I'm saying, but we just see the perspective from Rachel's eyes, right? And then from then on, a lot of the things would happen the same way. Except a lot of it will be in Conaguero's eyes. So we'll still get to learn about what Conaguero did for his sister and all that type of stuff. And in Dorsey, we'll still like Baam. But yeah, we'll still like Baam, but it'd be a little bit more of a background thing. I mean, it kind of is a background thing anyway, but it'd be a little bit more background than that. So the tests and stuff like that, I can't be bothered going through the test. I don't want to remove too much fundamentals of the story. I'd probably change the styles of tests, but I don't really want to go into those type of details. I kind of want to talk about narrative focus and shit like that more so than that. So, if I skip anything or don't mention anyone, just consider them background, Consider it to be the same essentially and in the background, a bit more in the background than it was in the main story. Now, then I would actually also introduce us to Wangnan. Pretty much the same way, because I do think season 1 is pretty solid. I would still have Rachel betray Baam and everything like those, but again, it's gonna be through Rachel's eyes and perspective, so you kind of see it and I think in a unique way. I don't know if it's gonna make people like Rachel more or hate her more. I think it might even make people hate her more, and which sounds impossible, but I think it might make people hate her more because you're seeing this boy really chasing after her, and really trying to be there for her, and her just rejecting and pushing, and then her trying to manipulate Con and the guys and all that stuff. Now, actually, when it comes to that part, I do most of that in Rachel's eyes. So in the story, we get it through Conaguero's eyes a lot, and he figures it out and shit like that, and she ends up killing people. But I'd have her I'd actually show the details of her meticulously planning out how she, you know, that if they find out about her, that she would kill them. You know what I'm saying? And how she would try to do it, and her manipulating all the people that end up working for her. I think I'll do a bit more of that, and focus on the psychological aspect of it and how she ends up doing it and why these people are trusting her. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and her always complaining and moaning. I like that aspect about her. Then the hell train. The hell train is the thing. You know, because I absolutely loved the workshop floor for the most part. Before I go to hell train, I'm gonna start with the workshop. With the workshop, I think what I would do is, I don't even know if they took the hell train to the workshop. I can't remember. I think they did the workshop and then they went to the one where Dorsey lost her name, and then the train. You know, it's been a long time, but you know, you all can fill those blanks. But basically, I think what I would do here is, let's say when we introduce season 2, when we're introduced to Wangnan, I would, because season 2 that, okay, season 2 is when Rachel essentially stabs your man with the speed boost because she's jealous of his speed. So I would still start it with Wangnan, and I'd started pretty much the same, and I'd keep Wangnan as the main guy all the way through, and would kind of learn about Bam and him being Vial Grace and shit like that, or Vial Grace, I don't know how the fuck y'all say it, but him being as that, I think I'd keep that for as long as, I'll keep that a little bit more secretive. Like I'll keep his background a little bit more secretive, but it's his actions that'll be doing a lot of the talking. So you know, we'd still know as the audience, oh yeah, he's, you know, he's trying to save his friends, and that's the reason why he's with Fog, and etc, etc, etc. But yeah, then you know, when we get on the train, I keep it away from Bam then. You know what I'm saying? Because I think having Bam in the forefront, at least for me as a reader, it annoys me when you see his power boost, even though he's an irregular and they're supposed to get power boosts and shit like that. It just never really feels that earned. I think in season 1 to season 2, it feels pretty earned. Like at the start of season 1 to the start of season 2, I think it feels really, really earned, because there's the time skip. So when he's really powerful, you're like, yeah, he's really powerful. Versus now when you just see him just pop these powers because of being an irregular and how quickly he learns stuff, and him just being able to take everything. I don't want to show any of that on screen, right? I want to only show the improvement, but I don't want to show the process, because I think that a lot of the process is very underwhelming. So instead, what I'll have is, on the Hell Train, I'll have the story completely focused on Rachel and her team, so that we see it as little of Bam as possible, right? I'll have it also a little bit focused on Wangnan, of course, and what he's going through. I'd also change what's her name? I'd also change Yuri's perception of things. I think I'd still have her come through and give Bam the needle, but I'd use her more reservingly. In the Hell Train, I wouldn't have her in the Hell Train like those. I would have her come through and kill your man, but I wouldn't have her, like, you know, the whole popcorn scene, fucking watching Bam like that. Because obviously she has reasons for being there and trying to protect Bam, because she also wants to stop Jahad. But I'd keep that a little bit more mysterious, and I'll put it so that later on, you know, they discover that the Hell Train is destroyed, and you know, and the administrator, is it the administrator? Who the fuck is the person that runs the goddamn train is murdered, and people are wondering what happened and who did it, and you know, it's the Hell Train, so a lot of it just goes under the rug anyway. So then when we leave, it'll be again mainly Rachel's story. Even when in the mirror world, it's gonna be mainly Rachel, and we're not really gonna see much of Bam. Even when he faces Mirror Jahad, what I would do is I call it the mirror dimension. I know it's the hidden floor, whatever. Okay, we say hidden Jahad, but I call it the mirror dimension. But you know, whatever. Bam is still gonna face Mirror Jahad, but this time we're not gonna see any of the training. We're not gonna see the Con Aguero learning new moves. We're not gonna see Rack and them. Do you know what I'm saying? And if we do, actually we will, but he won't be with them. You know what I'm saying? He kind of in the background doing shit, but he'll focus on showing Rack and Con Aguero. And my main reason for this, which I'll explain at the end, why I'd keep Bam as background as possible, despite the story revolving around him. You know what I'm saying? He drives the narrative forward, but simultaneously he's not really the protagonist, right? So, you know, then I'll have the fight. I'd still have the fight with Mirror Jahad, with Kid Jahad. And I think when you see that fight, because you don't see a lot of Bam, you only see him in increments. When he was really weak, hella chapters later, he's kind of strong. Hella chapters later, did he get killed? Hella chapters later, oh shit, he's alive. Hella chapters later, oh damn, did he just? Hella chapter later, every feat seems more intriguing. You're like, damn, like you know what I'm saying? Because I think the more, if you keep Bam like that, you keep that mystery around him, I think he stays a high tier character. It's like people like OP characters if they're not on in your face every goddamn chapter. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the key. And also his whole I don't want to kill thing will become way more like, oh, I don't want to, like, I have to sacrifice other people. It'll become way more meaningful because you have it in the first few chapters when he was going to kill, thinking about killing the guy with the many eyes, you know, those docile thingies, and then you won't have it again because the main story isn't around him, it's around the people around him, like Rachel and shit like that. You won't have it again until you know, let's say I know the test. I would skip that because it won't show that. You won't have it again till he doesn't kill Wangnan and them, and then, you know, again it'll be through action. He won't say it, but it'll be through action. But in the first one he meets Khun, he will say it, and then you won't see it again until the war when he starts the war with Jahad. I'll have that, you know what I'm saying? I'll still have that, but I'll change the floor layout, all that shit. But we'll get to that in a second, you know what I'm saying? But basically, just bear that in mind that he will not be saying, oh, I have to, in order to get what I want, I must, Nah, he'll say it once and then do it through action until the war, right? So just keep that in mind when I come back to it. So then the story will actually when after the floor of dead or whatever, you know, where enryu and shit like that is showcased, and phantaminum, all that shit, we will learn a little bit about those. So with enryu, I'd keep it a mystery. I think it's okay to keep her and him and phantaminum a mystery. I think it's fine to do that, or phantamon, whatever, however you say it. I prefer saying phantaminum, even though there's no IUM, but whatever. I'd prefer to keep them a mystery, just because I think it's more interesting, it's more intriguing to have them as a mystery. The access stuff, I don't want to get into it at the moment. I'm just going to talk about up until the story is at the moment, right? We still learn about enryu, we still learn about phantaminum, we still learn about what's his name, goddamn, we still learn about Mazino and stuff, but this time we discover from Rachel that Mazino defeated Heljo. So it doesn't matter how it plays out and how much Bam's role played in that, but we discover that Mazino you know, defeated Heljo. But also on top of that, we would have Yuri manage to control the two needles, the two, you know, the 2 months, right? The Black March and the Green April. Will have her be able to control that for a bit. So the rumors will be spreading that she was able to control it. Now, eventually those overwhelm her still, which we learn later on. But for now, that's the kind of information that comes out, right? So this is going to be important maybe when I do a part 2. Because I think Jahad will discover this and be kind of worried because, you know, he made it so that these weapons prevent the princesses from being a certain level. That's why they can't really control 2 weapons, because they lose their minds, right? The weapons are more receptive to guys even. So that's kind of, you know, and I think this is where, this is just a theory here at this stage. I think this is where Wangnan and Karaka are special. This is probably why they're the prince, because I think they can control as many of these weapons without losing their minds. And same as some irregulars. I think this is key here. This is my own, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, we continue. Alas, we continue. So then we have I'm trying to think of where we are in the story at the moment. Oh yeah, in the hidden floor, I forgot to say, in the hidden floor, Conagüero will still end up after that arc, he'd still end up being like almost dead and shit, and unlocking that power, but it won't focus on it. It's just something we discover, we learn later on. We'll learn it maybe through Rack. We'll have like a scene of Rack looking at Conagüero frozen in that ice thingy, and you know, this will be kind of like, you know, the epilogues. Is it epilogue or, you know, at the beginning? So it's like a, is it epilogue? I don't know, the intro of the shit, right? Like that, you'll have that as an intro of a chapter or some shit to kind of showcase that something happened to Khan, and it'll show then Baam furious, and it'll have Rack just looking over the body. You know what I'm saying? Just a little teaser. You know what I'm saying? Just a little teaser. Some motherfuckers are like, damn, man, what happened? What happened? And you excited to find that shit out. You know what I'm saying? And then when Khan wakes up and shit like that, this will all happen. I'd push when Khan wakes up forward, right? I'd have Baam go through the whole dog thingy. I actually wouldn't even have the dog family thing, to be honest, but I feel like that affects too much of what the story is gonna do after, so I can't really do that. So what I'll do instead is, when he goes to gain Yama's help, it's gonna show us that when he, you know, he defeats everybody, goes to get Yama, and it's just gonna be brief. He gets to Yama's thing, and everybody warns him not to do it. He gets there, and that's where it ends. And we don't learn what happens after that until the war, when he pulls up a Yama. So then the story is gonna shift and go to, you know, one of my favorite characters in General Commander Calavan. So the story would focus and shift to him, and we'll get his backstory and him about to fight Baam's master and shit, right? Because again, we still know Baam's master because of Wangnan's story way back, because, you know, he still would come true, and I think because you don't see it through Baam's perspective at that time, you unaware of how close the relationship is, and therefore it doesn't feel like some PTSD weird shit that it feels like in the story. Instead, it feels like a mystery thing. You're like, oh damn, that was his master. And you know, like from Wangnan's perspective, it seemed like he cared about him, since he let him stay. He let Wangnan them stay in order to make Baam happy, etc., etc. And he, you know what I'm saying, we as the audience don't really see what he did to him, right? And I think I wouldn't show what he did to him until like way after, like way later into the story, closer to him fighting Jahad or Zahard. I think that's when I would bring that up. You know what I'm saying? If the master, I gotta see if his master is gonna eventually die or not before I showcase those type of details. You know what I'm saying? So boom. Then Conagüero is awakened. You know what I'm saying? Is awakened, and they, you know, you still have that mission where Rack goes with what's his name, Owen? Is it Owen? There's this the white dwarf when they go to save Khan. You still have that whole arc, and they save Khan, and Khan makes it just before the war starts, like just before the war starts. In between that, so instead of what's happening, instead of the whole dog Lopabia shit, what's gonna happen to fill in that gap? So to fill in that gap with actually, so remember, Rachel gets the special bonus thingy for helping out I think the Lopabia family. So she gets the special weapons and shit like that, and the special power. So she did all that stuff still happens, but this time the story is gonna focus on, it's gonna show it to the perspective of Karaka and why he kind of is helping Baam, because it's his master as well, and the whole war arc is gonna be through Karaka's eyes, and Karaka is gonna be a bit more useful and not just use his armor 24/7. So he's gonna be, you know, showing off some of his moves and showing off more of his invulnerability powers. Like a lot of people gonna think, oh, he lost, but he came back alive. A lot of the war will happen the same way, but it just won't focus too much on the dog family. But then you know it will at some point it's going to show Yama's backstory and shit like that. I suppose it won't focus too much on Khan, sorry, not Khan. It won't focus too much on what's his name, on Bam, but it'll focus. You'll get to know Yama. You still get to know Doom. You get to know what happened. As they're fighting, you get to see flashes of like what happened to them and why they're fighting so hard and why they ended up joining Bam and stuff like that. But those will be like in between us insert like excerpts as the fights go on. And boom, those will be my changes. It's hard to make more changes. Like I would, if it was up to me, I'd just remove the whole dog thing completely and Yama, all of that. I'd keep Yama maybe, and I'd keep maybe him choosing to help and become a slayer for Fog, like him willing to be like, all right, fuck it, I'll help you, just because technically he's a slayer anyway, so he'd like, all right, cool, I'll help. And I'd have the reasoning to be because he mends his relationship with his brother, and his brother decides to help. But I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard because he's become so integral to what's happening. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to remove him, because I don't know what's gonna happen next. And then if he's there the whole time, it'd just be like, it'd be too much thinking power to try to fix that. But those are just some of the things that I would do. Maybe even throughout a lot of this war. Actually, yeah, I'd actually skip the war and showcase. Okay, so I'd put that Conor Guerrero's back just in time for the war, just as they reach the wall. Conor Guerrero's back, and he gets updated about everything that's happening and why it's happening, etc. And he obviously insists, and Rack pulls up, and they both pull up, and they both pull up, and that's where we're gonna end it, right? And Karaka in the war, it's also gonna end with him joining. So that whole arc is gonna end with them all joining the war. So Fox showing the dog stuff and stuff like that, we can learn that later. And then the story would actually switch and focus on what the fuck Wangnan is doing. And also it would focus on Rachel and maybe Yuri, actually. Yuri maybe going back to Mazino and them and informing them of what's about to happen with the war. You know what I'm saying? And then obviously that's kind of where we are, so we'll have to figure out the rest from, you know, when the rest of the story comes through. What y'all think of my changes? What you think of some of my changes? Also with Jahad, the stuff about Mirror Jahad, it's pretty much happened the same way, but it would be something we hear about, murmurs, you know what I'm saying? It'd be something that we will eventually learn about. But not immediately. We'll learn about it through maybe Calavan, actually, because we're still going to get Calavan's story, etc., etc. Maybe it'd be good if we learn about it through Calavan and how it seems like Jahad is afraid of this kid. You know what I'm saying? And it'll show us. I don't know how. It's kind of hard, bro. We'll have to show that fight. We'll show that fight. Fuck it. We'll show that fight because there's too much information in that fight. We'll show that fight as is. Yeah, as is. But because, again, we didn't see a lot of Bam's training and how he gains his power, I think it'll still be way more impactful as he fights toe-to-toe with Jahad, which was like, damn, this kid is crazy strong. And yeah, and then the rest, you know, kind of what I said there towards the end. But yeah, what you guys think, man? This video is long as shit. It's been your boys, pretty much the God. Don't forget to subscribe. 600, we're trying to get to that, you know what I'm saying? Let me know, comment down below your thoughts and what you would change, etc., etc. I know I missed a lot of arcs. I know I missed a lot of bits, but you already see the video is like 20-something minutes long, and I skipped quite a lot. So if I focus on everything, I think the video might be like 50 minutes long. And all right, I'm out.